On this edition of Mississippi Roads, a roadside fruit stand blossoms into a tourist destination. The Vicksburg Cemetery is brought back to life, and a painter named Waters has mastered the art of watercolor.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Support for the arts segment of Mississippi Roads comes from the Mississippi Arts Commission, whose mission is to be a catalyst for the arts and creativity in Mississippi. Information available at arts.state.ms.us.
Down Mississippi Road, Mississippi Road.
Hi, welcome back to Mississippi Roads. I'm your host, Walt Grayson. This week we're coming to you from the river city of Vicksburg, and we're celebrating pilgrimage, only they call it Tapestry now. Back in the 1950s, Vicksburg opened the doors of their antebellum homes to invite visitors to come in to take a look on the inside, and they called it pilgrimage. But then in 2009, they came up with the idea to expand that somewhat. They've added some demonstrations and some exhibitions and some tableaus depicting the history of Vicksburg, and added some other events. And now they call it Tapestry. The historic properties, like the Old Courthouse Museum, are open to the public. Today, historian Gordon Cotton is spinning tales about Jefferson Davis, Ulysses S. Grant, and other notable figures that had passed through Vicksburg.
The old courthouse is really the crown jewel of Vicksburg. Maybe the crown jewel of Mississippi, I don't know. We have so much in here, including the scale model of St. Pierre, which was the first European settlement in the state of Mississippi. Gettysburg claims that they were the key to the victory for the North, the turning point. I say that we were, well, maybe both at the same time, because they happened at the same time. But if Grant had failed here, Lincoln still would not have found a general, and we might still be fighting.
So people come to Vicksburg every April to experience Tapestry. But there is one attraction that lures locals and passers-by the year round. The Tomato Place is our next stop along the road. People come to Mississippi from all over the world, hoping to experience something genuine, something real and honest. And the memories they make are so thick, they could bottle them up and take them home. When they visit the port city of Vicksburg, they expect nothing less. Mark Twain said the Mississippi River will always have its own way. No engineering skill can persuade it to do otherwise. Just south on Highway 61 lies a precious gem, aptly named the Tomato Place. And what started out as a roadside fruit stand, much like the Mississippi River, took a course of its own, blossoming into the now culture-rich restaurant and store.
We started in this location with just produce. And the Tomato Place, that's our best sellers. Tomatoes, we have them year-round. People will drive miles to get a good tomato. People that love us, or either we're not for everybody. The people that come in, they either like us, and if they like us a lot. They come back. I have customers from New York to California, from Miami to Alaska, and they will come every time they come through Vicksburg. I've had people change their routes to come through Vicksburg to come see us. And on the other hand, a lot of local people don't even know we're here. We don't do a lot of advertising. It's all by word of mouth, and we're small. We don't want to get big. We like our atmosphere. It's not work to me. It's fun. I don't want to get big, so as you can see, we can't handle a big crowd. But we have really, really great customers.
They have a wonderful menu. It's a good place to come. People pass by here all the time, think it's a fruit stand or a vegetable stand, and they just drive on past, and once they stop in, they keep coming back.
People will drive miles to get a good tomato. And we pride ourselves on having real tomatoes year-round.
We had never been in this area before. We were looking at the brochure that we picked up here in Vicksburg, and it told about the tomato place. So we put it in our GPS, and here we are. I ordered the BLT because I read that that's a specialty.
And the kosher hot dog.
We're going to have fresh lemonade and a BLT, and we're going to eat outside in the sun. Day's beautiful.
Yeah.
We added food, then we added smoothies, then we added hats, and it just grew. Customers sort of pushed us on.
Folks drive for miles around to taste one of the 27 different flavors of smoothies that are made fresh every day. But fresh smoothies aren't the only thing they're known for.
We're known for our BLTs. I never get tired of customers saying this is the best BLT I've ever eaten.
Among the fresh fruit, smoothies, and BLTs, there's a special ingredient that keeps people coming back.
It's really special. It's like family here. You know, everybody pulls together, and it's a great place to come.
Most people that work here stay with me a long time.
I was in pursuit of a job at another establishment, and my phone rang. A lady come on the phone, and she said, can I speak to Sharon Batchelor? I said, this is she. She said, well, my name's Mallory, and I work for my dad at the tomato place. And I was wondering whether or not you'd be interested in a job. And I started work the next day. God gave me this job, and it's been a blessing ever since.
It's like a family. My customers are like a family. It's just one big family.
Come on.
All I really want is tomato pie. All I really need is tomato pie. Love tomato pie. Oh yes, and you will love it too if you will just take the chance to try tomato pie.
How about some of those chili cheese fries? Oh yeah.
Like the mighty Mississippi, the tomato place has forged its own path, waiting for you to discover all it has to offer. So whether you're in the mood for fresh fruit, a quenching smoothie, homemade marmalade, or a Southern-style meal, remember the tomato place is not your average fruit stand. The Flowery Historic Mansion is one of 19 properties open for Tapestry, and there are different homes and properties open every day with different demonstrations and different tours, so there'll be something to tour no matter what day you come to town.
At the beginning, it was thought
Today they're exhibiting medical practices used during the Civil War.
it was called a bullet snatcher, and we attempted to probe around in the body.
Authentic medical and surgical instruments are on display here at Flowery Mansion. Flowery was purchased by Confederate Colonel Charles Conway Flowery in the 1870s. He was Vicksburg's postmaster for a good part of the 1890s, and he helped to establish the Vicksburg National Military Park, which holds the remains of 17,000 Civil War Union soldiers, a number unmatched by any other national cemetery. And speaking of cemeteries, in our next story, we visit another Vicksburg cemetery, this time an African-American cemetery that was established shortly after the end of the Civil War. It's a small celebration today. Alderman Michael Mayfield acts as master of ceremonies for the contingent of a few Vicksburg and Warren County dignitaries, along with volunteers and board members of the organization responsible for the resurrection of Beulah Cemetery on the outskirts of the National Park in North Vicksburg. A small celebration over a significant piece of property and a significant restoration after years of neglect. Beulah Cemetery falls into that class of ventures created when recently freed slaves began to move out on their own into their own autonomous world after the Civil War. Other entities formed in that same time frame and under the same circumstances were things like black churches and black centers of commerce, Beale Street in Memphis, Ferry Street in Jackson, and community burial places like Bula in Vicksburg.
This was the only place that blacks or Afro-Americans could be buried at unless they were buried in the yards or in the church cemeteries and all. And we did not have access to the city cemetery at that particular time.
So then, beginning in the 1880s, Beulah Cemetery became a centerpiece of life and death in the African American community and stayed that way for decades, nearly 100 years. But then, after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, blacks could bury anywhere, as well as shop anywhere and anything else anywhere, and places like Beulah Cemetery fell into less and less use. Willie Glasper was on the original committee to clean up and fix up Beulah. He has people buried here and remembers when Beulah Cemetery fell out of fashion.
I think once they opened up, I don't know what year it was when they allowed blacks to be buried in the city cemetery. Then that pretty much, no one wanted to be buried out here. Well, they didn't want to bury their family members out here anymore. And that's basically the gist of it. After they started burying in the city cemetery, they just lost interest in this.
Hilda Young Light and her brother Ernest Young remember the times when the cemetery was so overgrown it was hard to get in and out, and a certain amount of individual trailblazing was necessary to visit the graves of family.
And we would come down, my brothers would all come down on special occasions and clean off the sites, make sure that our sites was clean, and then we would come down like on their birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, things like that, and put flowers on the grave, and you can see flowers that are down there now. I came down Mother's Day and bumped my car coming down through here. But they've straightened that out now, so it's much better shape now than it was as they had been.
But over the past few years, things have changed drastically at Beulah Cemetery. The underbrush has been cleared mostly. The headstones have been reset and are visible again. In a roundabout way, the miracle in the old burial ground in Vicksburg is the result of Hurricane Katrina, in that Karen Frederick had to leave her home on the coast after Katrina and came to Vicksburg, and got such a warm welcome from the town that she wanted to do something in return and spearheaded the cleaning up of Beulah Cemetery.
I lost my home and pretty much everything. So Vicksburg and the community and people and friends that I have made have saved me. And so I wanted to give something back.
Yvonne Robbins of Robbins Funeral Home is captivated by the spirit of the place now that it's coming back to life.
We can stand here and see today that topographically it is the most beautiful cemetery in Vicksburg and probably in the whole region with its natural valleys and peaks and trees and so on. And it had been uncut and unattended for years.
And almost everybody who's an African American who have roots in Warren County, including myself, have family that are buried in there, many of which are under unmarked graves.
Vicksburg Mayor Paul Winfield there points out another situation at Beulah Cemetery that's being rectified, the accounting for just who is buried here. Many of these blanks are being filled in from the burial records of Jefferson Funeral Home, Mississippi's oldest black funeral home in Vicksburg. James Jefferson Jr. says his predecessors were meticulous in their record keeping.
There were never any formal records kept, but since we're the oldest black funeral home in the state of Mississippi, they decided we'd start here, and our records go all the way back to 1894.
Bobby Edwards is one of the volunteers carefully examining the old files and ledgers from Jefferson Funeral Home, making lists of names and burial dates of the unmarked population of Beulah.
Well, some of the information we're finding is where fraternities and organizations were the one that requested the burials.
Several things come to mind in seeing the resurrection of Beulah Cemetery. The kindness of strangers coming here and volunteering to clean out the underbrush, and not only the black community, but the community at large supporting and contributing to this project. It's not so much black history as it is community history, as time puts distance between us and the events of back then. And I guess also the respect shown to those who have gone on before. Makes you hope that someday someone may treat us as kindly if needed. All of those pleasantries toward this place makes Beulah Cemetery sort of a small slice of the biblical utopia that is its namesake, Beulah land. The circa 1840 Cedar Grove Mansion Inn was built by John Alexander Klein. Now, this house took a lot of shelling during the Civil War. Matter of fact, tourists today can still see battle scars on the parlor walls. Cedar Grove is now one of the largest and most elegant bed and breakfasts in the South. It's situated on 5 acres of lush gardens and features 33 rooms and suites, plus a full-service restaurant and bar. During Tapestry, Cedar Grove is offering visitors a tasting of food and spirits along with the tour of the property. Something else you'll find unique in Vicksburg in April are musical performances. There's historic neighborhood tours, and then one of my favorites is the Ghost in the Gardens tour. And that's where people are taken on tours of these beautiful gardens and these magnificent homes and told ghost stories about the city's past. The Corners Mansion was built in 1873 by John Alexander Klein. He's the same man who built Cedar Grove. He gave the house as a wedding present to his daughter Susan and her new husband Isaac Bonham.
And we have lots of medicine
During
bottles.
Tapestry, artifacts are on display from the Klein family, along with a history of the family from the perspective of Klein's daughter Susan. The architectural style of the home is a combination of Greek Revival and Victorian with Italianate features, and the pierced columns are extremely unique. Notice the motif of hearts, shamrocks, rings, and diamonds, depicting signs of love and marriage. Hey, and speaking of unique, in our next story, we're going to travel to the east of Vicksburg, about 30 miles, to the town of Clinton, and visit the watercolor world of Wyatt Waters.
I always knew that I wanted to paint. I always knew that. I always thought that was what I was going to do. My kindergarten teacher, she taught me to read. She would read a story and then have us paint the story. So when real school started in the first grade, and there was no art program, my dad, my mom, they got me lessons from this lady, Miss Rose, and she taught me through grade school, and she always told me that I was going to be an artist, that I was going to have a gallery. I started painting at about 2 years old, and my mom was painting the floor, and for some reason she gave me a paintbrush and let me spatter paint the floor. And that's how it started for me. It chose me. It's like, you know, you might choose it, but it chooses you too. It's an interplay between those things. It suits my personality, but it's also shaped my personality a pretty good bit as well. You know what I like about watercolor is, well, everybody always calls it a master's medium, and I think that was probably invented by a watercolorist who was promoting his work. Truthfully, it's the first thing you paint in when you're in kindergarten, and I like it because when you put it down, it changes. It doesn't stay the way you put it down. It dries a little lighter and duller. It runs and drips and spreads, and the accidents are going to happen more. It's more like you're riding a horse than driving a car. The horse enters into the choices and the outcome. You just have to, it's a back and forth with it. I love watercolor because it challenges me. I like a variety of subjects. I like what happens when you're on location in Campbell's Bakery and people come up, you know, and talk with you and tell you stories about either Campbell's Bakery or maybe another time they've seen you somewhere. You can also there's always a good story that happens that informs and fuels the painting. I could just about paint a UPS truck from memory because this happens a lot. Still today, when I teach watercolor, I teach beginning, middle, and end. The process that goes on in your head when you're making a painting. And those are the 3 parts of a short story. Theme variation, tension restraint. To think in those terms was a lot more important than, you know, throwing salt on a painting or scraping it or those little tricky things that some people associate with painting. Here we go. Hop up. There we go. Hop on over. Here we go, buddy. Starts with a general idea, and then I drive to the general idea. Then I get around and I try to find something more specific. So it's really about the way it feels. I feel like this is what I ought to do, or that's what I ought to do. Sometimes it's stuff I've driven past for, you know, a long time, and then one day I want to paint it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I went to school here, so I've got a lot of history, but sometimes it's good to revisit your history. I wouldn't be painting but for Dr. Gore. I had not an apprenticeship, I had a work study with him, which was like an apprenticeship.
Well, I recognized his drawing ability, the pencil, pen and ink, and brush drawing immediately in class. And I grabbed him and put him on the team, sort of. He never disappointed me.
And somewhere around my sophomore year, Dr. Gore taught me the value of basics. I thought there was something more sophisticated out there. There was some sociological, you know, introspective something that I was supposed to inject into my painting that would give them value. I learned that the basics, drawing, color relationships, learning to see, those were the big deals, and they still are the big deals in my painting. I got those underlined with Dr. Gore at MC.
Anything he picked up from me, he immediately he grabbed the ball and ran with it.
If I were to stand up here and ask you to tell you the value of football, you would think that's ridiculous, because why is this guy talking? We already know it's important, but the arts are just as important. Painting and drawing are a child's first expressive medium, because you can't adequately say how you feel when you're 5 years old. It is important in that way that integrates so many, it teaches you to pull from many, many, many different sources. It connects dots. It keeps education from being just an assimilation of a bunch of individual facts. It makes it, it helps put the pieces together. The arts makes people think. You start putting your own dots together and figuring things out, and sometimes that's a scary thing to think. It challenges the status quo. Every day I go out and I paint, and I meet somebody almost every day who's never seen anybody paint, or doesn't really have a very, I would say, solid idea of what painting is or the arts. And I get a chance to be that representative. It never occurred to me that I would have these kind of advantages. My goal, and really it's still in the back of my mind, my goal is just to keep painting. I didn't want to starve, and I wanted to paint. It's ironic that I get to do cookbooks on that note, but a great irony. Robert St. John and I are working on our third cookbook, an Italian palette, and we spent a good bit of time in Italy. I was over there for 70 days. We had a good time. I think I produced some of the best work I've ever done. I felt good about it. This guy's name was Pasquale. He chain smoked the entire time and drank 2 bottles of wine, a couple of espressos. Anyway, this big woman came up, and they didn't speak much English there, and I said, I am painting Pasquale. You know Pasquale? And you know, Pasquale, you know, and she rolled her arm up and had this really enormous tattoo that said Pasquale all up her arm. Anyway, that's Pasquale. He loved his work. Pisa. If I didn't paint this, they would think I did not go to Italy. So I painted Pisa, and I chose to kind of put this severe angle, you know, of Pisa against these very, very verticals of the cypresses, which are so representative of Italy. At the end of the day, I know that I've had so many opportunities through art that I'm grateful. A couple of years ago, I got the Governor's Award, which is a really big deal to me, because I love Mississippi, and those are all the people I consider peers and people I respect, all the past recipients and all the folks that go to support that. I don't know what we would be if we didn't have the pride that comes from the writers that we produce, the painters, the musicians, the country music and blues trails that the Arts Commission works with tourism and MDA on. Those things give us a sense of pride, but they also tell the rest of the world that this is what we're about. And Mississippi is, you know, is not always popularly known for the most positive things, but really what tells what people are about are the way they feel. And that's a very difficult thing to describe, especially over a period of time. And the arts are also a document of the way that we feel. You can't say that so literally. The arts succeed in telling the story of who we are, not just what we are. A society is judged by how it values the story, because the story is how you tell great truths, how you pass them on. And the arts tell the story. Ta-da!
Located on the bluff above the Mississippi River is Annabelle Bed and Breakfast. It was built in 1868. It's in Vicksburg's historic garden district.
I would put them in the 1800s.
Their tapestry presentation is entitled Ladies of the Siege. They tell the stories of how the women handled the siege during the Battle of Vicksburg. Jewelry, cooking utensils, and recipes of the time are on display for viewing.
It tastes any better cooked in anything else than it does in cast iron.
And this is where we're going to leave you tonight, with the sights and sounds of Vicksburg's tapestry. Hey, if you got a question about anything you've seen on tonight's show, contact us at mpbonline.org/Mississippi Roads. Till next time, I'm Walt Grayson. I'll be seeing you on Mississippi Roads.
If they were widowed, whether it be through the war, whatever the circumstances were, women by tradition were to wear black. These 6 little ones right here, Carolyn's grandchildren. That was her daughter.
Mississippi Roads is made possible in part by the generous support of viewers like you. Thank you.